Hello everybody. So another Tiff comes to an end, Tiff 2012. I finished it with a whopper. This movie was almost 5 hours long. There was a 10-minute intermission after the third part. It was broken up into 5 parts, each roughly about an hour long. And there was a 10-minute intermission after part 3. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm like out of it. The movie was called Penance. It was a Japanese film. Now, I haven't seen too many films of this length before. I saw a French film about Joan of Arc that was roughly about 5 hours. That one went by no time whatsoever. Didn't even notice. It was so fantastic. It was called Jeanne La Pucelle, actually, and it was directed by Jacques Rivette, French director. That was one mega movie that I saw. Another one was the German film Berlin Alexanderplatz by Rainer Werner Fassbinder, but I saw that in increments. I didn't see it all in one sitting. So I can't really count that one, actually. But as far as I know, those are the 2 longest movies I've ever seen, and this one is going to have to join the ranks. Now, the first 4 parts of this movie, the first 4 hours were okay to good. The final part was preposterous, awful, ridiculous. I mean, it completely destroyed the previous 4 hours, in my opinion. It completely null and voided what had gone before, as far as I'm concerned, because it was so bad that it just, there's no excuse for it. So here's the plot of the movie. When it starts out, these 5 young girls about age, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, they're in the schoolyard together, and this guy, we don't see him from the front, he comes up from behind and he looks like a janitor or something. He comes up and says to them, I'm working on something over in the corner and I need one of you to come help me. How about you? And he points at this one particular girl, and she ends up going with him. And the other 4 stay behind. She, of course, doesn't come back. And maybe about an hour or 2 later, they go to check, and sure enough, they find her dead on the floor of this gymnasium in the school. So then they go and, call the cops, tell her mother. Her mother is like a major, she's the driving force of the film, really. And she's like, I'm sure she must be some like major Japanese star. She looks it. I don't know. I'll have to look in the Tiff program book to make sure. But she looks like a heavyweight actress. Very, like, I'd say in her 40s. Very super attractive, super elegant, super chic. This woman wears Chanel heels and stockings and skirts and dresses everywhere she goes. No jeans for her. This woman is like, ultra high maintenance. Okay, and she was the mother of the girl who was murdered. So anyway, when the girls are questioned about what happened to this girl, they all say they can't remember. They can't give a description of the guy, whatever. They just say they don't know. They don't remember anything. And so this mother calls these 4 kids to her house one day and says to all of them, "You brats, how come you don't remember anything? You're going to have to do penance for this. You're going to have to pay for this. If you can't come up with any information to solve my daughter's murder, then you're going to have to do, penance for the rest of your lives and make it up to me," right? So, apparently these girls take this to heart, and so the movie goes to each one, 15 years later, what happens in each of their lives. And there was some weird stuff going on. Okay, the first story, but like I said, it was good up until the final part, which was comprised almost entirely of the mother, and I'll talk about that later. But the storylines with the girls who were grown up into adulthood were actually pretty good. I enjoyed them. Kept me in my seat. I didn't leave. The first one was about this really like ultra quiet, shy, terrified. This girl is like terrified of men. Every time she sees a man anywhere remotely close to her, she takes off and runs screaming, pretty much. Terrified. And so anyway, she meets this guy. He wants to like arrange a marriage with her. He's like this rich guy, and so he contacts his agency and says, "Oh yeah, I used to know you in elementary school." Anyway, this guy is like super weird. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the time that the murder took place, around the same time there was like these doll thefts going on in the neighborhood. French dolls. Somebody was stealing French dolls from all these houses. Go figure. And this guy confesses to her after they get to know each other that, yeah, it was me. I was the one who was stealing the dolls. And he brings her into his house, brings her into his bathroom, and he has this fucking doll on the sink, on some kind of like pedestal or something. And he says, you know, it's okay with me that, you know, you're scared of men and you don't want, you know, you don't want people to touch you and stuff. I just want you to be my doll. You know, when I saw this doll and when I saw you, because it was her doll that he had in the bathroom, it's like when I saw this doll, and I was like struck by lightning when I saw you that you were the owner of this doll, and I just want you to be my doll. So she goes along with it, and she marries this guy, and every night he dresses her up in like an identical dress that's on the doll, made to scale to her body, and she just stands there, and he says, you know, just stand there and let me look at you until I fall asleep. I mean, it's fucking weird. But it was like, it was kind of cool, you know, at the same time I was like, what the hell? And so at the end of that one, she ends up pummeling him to death with a lamp. And then in the second story, this girl turns out to be like, she's a teacher in a elementary school, and her thing is like she goes to this fencing class, and I guess she devoted herself to like self-defense. And it's kind of frightening when you see this first scene of her in this gym, you know, trying out for this fencing thing, because they're all wearing like these black, you know, outfits, and they have, you know, the mesh, not mesh, but the, what the fuck you call it, like the face protector, right? And they have like the wire, the fencing, whatever it is, you know, what you call that thing. Anyway, they look pretty. She looked like some fucking ninja. So they're all like, you know, going at each other, and the teacher's like, oh, you're doing really great, you're improving immensely, and like, oh, I never knew I'd be so into martial arts and all this. But she's like, doesn't have a boyfriend or nothing, she's just like, you know, a teacher, that's her life, that and this like fencing. And then one day, they're in the pool, all like this class of kids is in the pool, and then this fucking nut bar breaks in and starts attacking people. So she grabs like, you know, like the thing that they put in the pool to rescue people if they're drowning, like one of those long poles. She runs over, grabs this pole, and fucking pummels this guy. Totally, you know, disarms him, knocks him unconscious, and she's like the big hero for a while. And then they try to say she used excessive force, and they demonize her. Anyway, at the end of that story, this guy comes back and punches her in the head or something like that, and she falls to the ground and hits her head, and she ends up dying, I guess. That was that story. The third one was about this, one of the girls was like kind of like a tomboy type who you know, very, you know, asexual, you know, dresses in baggy clothes, and she's got this weird relationship with her brother. It seems like there's some incestuous kind of thing going on because there's this weird, you know, thing between them. And then he ends up bringing home, like, he says he got married, and the girl that he married has a small daughter around like 8 or 9 years old. So he asks her to like babysit the kid, and they end up like bonding and getting pretty close, and this kid really loves her and stuff. And then this kid starts saying, oh, I don't want to go home, I don't want to go home. So she knows that something's going on with her brother. And then so she goes over there one day to drop something off, and she sees him like almost like sexually assault this girl. So she ends up choking him to death and ends up in a mental hospital. That was that story. And then the fourth one, which this broad was a real piece of work. She was like the only one who was, you know, kind of had a life. At the beginning, she opens this flower shop, and she seems normal enough. But then it turns out she's this totally amoral, bitchy, slutty, you know, broad. Like her sister has just gotten married to a cop. And she's like, oh, you know, I've always been attracted to cops. How come you went and married one? And all this, right? Like, she's jealous. And so she ends up, when the sister goes away, you know, for a weekend or something, she ends up going over there and, you know, banging the husband. And, you know, I mean, she's got no morals, no scruples, nothing. And she ends up pregnant by this guy. And she even, you know, tells her sister, you know, like this, you know, I slept with your husband. This is, you know, it was like, she was a real, you know, piece of shit. And, let's see, what else happens in that? Oh, yeah, and then the guy, like the husband that she slept with, he's a real piece of work, too. He's just a dumbass, mostly. He's like, listen, you know, we did this once. I don't even want to see the kid. And she ends up pushing him down the stairs and killing him. So, I mean, it was all like, it was... let me just sum it up by saying those first 4 parts were entertaining, and they kept me interested, and they weren't like so over the top that they, totally turned me off or whatever. But this 5th part is what like totally destroyed this movie. It just completely fell apart because I don't know why this director decided to cram all this backstory, all this Shakespearean melodrama of epic proportions into this last part. But he did, and it was just so amateurish and so hokey and so bad. It actually contends with Dormant Beauty. The 5th part of this movie contends with Dormant Beauty for worst of the festival. I don't know which was worse. It's kind of hard to. I might have to give the edge to Dormant Beauty, but this one was like really close, a definite contender, because it was so bad. And this woman, the mother, with her fucking heels and her stockings, and everywhere she goes, like she tracks this guy down. She figures out who it was that killed her daughter. And there's all this, like, I don't even want to get into it because it's so stupid. But, I mean, basically it turns out that the guy who killed her daughter was some guy she had an affair with in college. And this guy was in love with her friend, who she was extremely jealous of. The friend ends up committing suicide, and he blames her for it. So that's why he killed her daughter, was to get revenge on her. Meanwhile, it turns out that this guy was really her father, was really the father of the kid to begin with, because they had this fling or whatever. I mean, that's how, it was like ridiculous, like, Luke, I am your father. I mean, it was like so fucking stupid. Stupid. Like, I mean, like, seriously. And cramming all this into, well, it was more than an hour. It certainly felt like weeks watching that. And the only reason I stayed probably was because I was dead center in the row. And, I have to say for this film, it was packed. Theater was packed. And I didn't see anybody leave, which is pretty surprising, considering it's a fucking 5-hour movie. And, I mean, if I would have been on the aisle, I would have walked. But I was too lazy to get up at that point. It was like 5 hours in. I was like, just, oh, fuck, out of it. So, I honestly wanted to see how it played out anyway, because I put all this time into it. I might as well see how the fucking thing ends. And it was just a piece of shit. Really, really terrible. It was almost like a completely different director took over that 5th part, and it might very well have been. I have to check the book to see if just one director did this movie, because I mean, it was just totally. And these cops, one thing I couldn't figure out, they're questioning this woman in this police station, and it's like a makeshift police station, and they never explain why. Like, why? Like, you're just like, your police station has, like, bags hanging from the windows. There's, like, fucking no paint. There's, like, metal shelving. This place, like, looks like you just guys moved in, looks like you just moved in yesterday. What the fuck? Why wasn't it a regular police station? That's what I couldn't figure out. And, I mean, just, and this woman, she wants to kill the guy, but she doesn't, and it's just, it was off. That 5th part was so bad. I mean, I can't tell you how bad it was. It's hard to explain how bad it was. Anyway, unfortunately, that's how the festival ended for me. It did not end on a good note, but, on the whole, I saw some really, really good films this festival. Like I said, there were only 2 really bad ones. And one, actually, I'd say, 2 or 3 kind of and the rest of them were all really good. I'd have to say the best of the festival for me this year was 90 Minutes. That was, I think, my favorite one. But I mean, this one, there's just no excuse. Why the hell would you go to the trouble of making this, epic fucking film, and then just totally fuck it up at the end? Like, seriously, it looks like they just crammed it all together and edited it, like, in a hurry. Like, they were just eager to, fucking finish the thing and get it out. Like, that's how bad it was, how amateurish it was, and how uneven, and, like, just totally preposterous and over the top. Just ridiculous. There's no excuse for that. So anyway, that is my review of Penance. I cannot give it a thumbs up. Because of that 5th part, I have to give it a thumbs down. Even though the previous 4 hours were, like, good, to me, that fifth part was so bad it null and voided the entire movie. So, that is it. So, next year, I'll be back with more reviews. And I hope you guys enjoyed these. So, leave comments, let me know what you think. Because I'm always curious to know what people think about my reviews. And if other people have seen the films too, I'd be interested in what their opinions are. So, if you guys have seen them, please, let me know what you thought of them too. Alright, ciao.